We are two very busy dads
That's
in the
right.
universe, and we have a new segment this season on Treknological called Boldly Daddying, where we talk about kind of a story or a lesson that we learned
hmm
from the past week as dads to our young children. So, Shaf, why don't you kick it off this week? What happened in the world of the Shaw family?
Well, it's been a very busy week. I I would say within about a month ago, I started a new role within my company, and it's got me working extra hard as a result. Because I'm trying to get myself to the right level. I've got to perform. I've got to prove myself, kind of a thing. So I've been very focused on that during the day. But it's hard because I have a 2 year old and a 4 month old, and I work from home 100%. So I'm in the thick of it. And we don't have any other support. It's myself and my wife and our two kids. We don't have a nanny. We don't have daycare. We don't have, there's no grandparents in anywhere near vicinity. We moved to Washington. My parents live in Arizona. There's no other relatives anywhere near us. We're just now beginning to make some friends in the area. So we have no support. And that can be a challenge because when you're in the thick of it and there's no breaks, like it wears on you. And definitely I've been experiencing that. But that's just the context of what for this week. There's a quote that I came across, and I've heard this before many times, but it kind of stuck with me this week as relevant. So I'm going to read it to you. It's a quote by Jordan Peterson. You've probably seen it on TikTok or Instagram or wherever you get your short form content. But the quote goes like this: You have little kids for 4 years, and if you miss it, it's done. That's it. So you got to know that. It's lots of things in life you don't get to do more than once. Now, obviously, you can have more than one child, but all I'm saying is that period between 0 and 4 and 0 and 5, there's something about it that's really, it's like a peak experience in life. It isn't much of your life. You might think it is. You might think of it as a long time, but it's not that long. 4 years goes by so fast, you can't believe it. And if you miss it, it's gone. So you miss it at your peril and you don't get it back. Now, there's a lot of other stuff that this guy has said, more controversial, but this is the heart of what I wanted to talk about, which is I know I've experienced this where I get distracted with other things competing in my mind, but I need to learn to put the phone down. I need to learn to turn off the computer, to turn off the TV, to stop playing the video games or whatever. Like, I'm not saying I'm not an attentive parent. I am, but I could be better. We all could be better. Whatever version of ourselves we are, we could be better. And and so for me, it's the humbling experience and lesson of I need to do a better job of being present for my children during these formative years because I won't get them back. This is it. I mean, obviously, they're still my kids after age 4. They're still my kids after age 5, and they're still young, and I can still have great experiences. But I mean, so much happens between 0 and 4 and 0 and 5, and the most learning, the most development, and so I want to endeavor to be better in that regard. So if any other dads out there, and maybe Captain Vactor, if you want to touch on it, you're welcome to. But if any other dads are experiencing that, just take a moment and recognize where you might be spending your time that's not uh, in the vein of what you're doing for your family, and how you're showing up and being present in the moment with your family, then this might be helpful for you. So yeah, that's my thing, is just recognizing that I've had my phone in my pocket too much and I pull it out too much, and I need to just put it in another
That's a great
room so I can
insight.
focus
That's a
on
great point.
just
I
being in the moment with
actually
my
have
kids.
experienced that
So
as well. And actually, I also find it interesting, like you said, that time period is such a important period in a child's life. and my stepfather, stepfather-in-law, or my father-in-law, I'm sorry, he pointed out it's amazing that we have experienced so much with my son, but he will never remember it. Like there's so many experiences that he's had, and he's about 1.5 as we record this, but they exist in our memories, and he will just have pictures and videos to look back on. But this time period where they're learning so much, and from year to year, it is so important, and it just multiplies. Versus us as adults, the years are not, as formative. But for children, these are, seminal years. These are the years when they learn so much about the world and about life. And so, yeah, it is very important that we take that time, because we are the caregivers. We are the ones who are responsible for these time periods. So I definitely like that quote that you picked out there, Shuff, and I am right there with you 100%. And it's also something that I think about, every day as well. Of my son during this time period, spending as much time with him as possible, and the time where your son actually wants to be with you and spend time with you is important, because I know when he gets older, he's going to want to be with his friends. He's not going to want necessarily to spend as much time with dad or mom. So I'm also trying to cherish these days as well, and take each day as it comes and not overlook, the time that I have with him. So yeah, that's 100%. I agree with.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's so interesting with COVID and everything sort of locking down. Like my firstborn was
Right in
born
there.
during,
Right.
I mean, she was born
Yep.
July 2020. So it's like that was just months after everything stopped. Like everybody was forced to stay home, and we really kind of went inward as a general public, and but at the same time that focusing inward allowed a lot of us to really focus on what's important, and I think families got stronger as a result, having to be in those close quarters and really live with each other. And I know
Mm.
that I've
Yeah.
gotten a heck of a lot more
Right.
time as a father to my kids than my dad had with me, because he was always at work somewhere. He wasn't
Mm.
home working. He didn't have that luxury that to do that. So I wouldn't see him until the evenings, and that was if he got home before I went to bed. And we would obviously have dinners as much as he was home for it, but he worked a lot of long hours, and so like I'm glad that my kids get the opportunity to see me on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, all day
Yes.
long,
Well said,
because
Shav.
that's something that this
This
generation
week
gets that other
in the Vactor
generations did not.
household, my parents came to visit, and
Thank you.
specifically to see my son, and spend more time with him. Sure.
And to see you too, and to see you too. Oh, and time out. Quick shout out to Vactor's parents, because they are super duper supportive of this podcast. So thank so much. I consider you both to be my surrogate parents, if you will. Um, just thank you for all the support, and thank you for creating this awesome
Yeah.
captain
They
that is right in front
they
of me, that I get
really
to do
do
this
enjoy this
fun podcast with each
podcast,
week.
and are very supportive of the things that I do and my endeavors. So thank you, mom and dad. But they came specifically to see my son and spend some time with him. So we had a good couple of days, enjoying the Arizona 112-degree heat, and getting ice cream and different treats for my son. At first, he was actually kind of scared of them, because he hadn't seen them since he was 6 months old, so he didn't have any memories of them. But once he was around them and spent more time with them, when my mom was leaving, he went and grabbed her leg, and my wife Candy got a picture of it. So that was a great moment, and he was clinging on to my dad the whole time.
Aw.
But specifically for my mom, it was kind of a breakthrough moment because he had been kind of scared of her when she first came up to him. She kind of rubbed his head, and he was like, "Whoa, who is this?" So that was a great time this week in my dadding. So shout out to my parents.
That's awesome. That's so great. You know, another thing I was thinking about with the
Mm,
COVID thing is a lot of our
right.
kids grew up with meeting people with masks over their faces. You know, it's like definitely when like my parents haven't had a chance to physically meet my newest daughter because lived in Colorado and then we moved to Washington. There just hasn't been
Mm,
a chance. But when they met Emily for the first time, my
yeah.
two-year-old, they were wearing masks. And, you know, like that's such a weird thing. Like kids seeing that, not seeing a full face, not seeing if you're smiling or not, like it's strange. It's a strange upbringing to have. And so a lot of kids that are in that generation, our kids' generation, have a really a weird start to their lives with with that and being exposed to that. So it makes
Yeah.
me very intrigued to see what that will look like for them in the future, like as they grow and what they remember,
Yeah.
because they were the first generation to sort of not understand
Oh,
why. We were so glad when the mask mandate was taken off for flights because we were obviously going to be flying from Colorado to Washington, and my daughter had just turned 2, less than a month
right.
before our flight.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, she's not, I can't even get her to wear a hat on her head. Like, I can't get her to wear sunglasses. Sometimes I can't get her to put on
Right.
her, you know, to let me change her diaper. Like, you think I'm going to be able to get to put a mask on her and she's just going to wear it for a 3 hour flight? Forget it. That's not going to happen.
I am kind of glad that he won't remember a lot of this time. I'm glad that he wasn't of an age that I think he really would have felt isolated or locked down during this time. So I'm sure by the time he's uh you know grown, he's not gonna be experience, hopefully, fingers crossed, he's not gonna be experiencing that again. But yeah, that was very strange times we've been living in and continue to live in. So we will boldly trek forward as we move through the ages, but we want to let everyone know